Every chord has a job.
They took our jobs!
That it's really good at within its key. And it's through functional harmony that a composer, i.e. you, can know what that job is. And if you've ever sat at your DAW moving around random notes to make up chords you don't know hoping it sounds right,
First try.
chances are you could use this lesson. By the end of this video, you'll be able to write a chord progression and know what it sounds like before you even play it. And if you watch this all the way through, you'll have everything you need in order to utilize a more complex modal harmony in part 2 of this video series. So let's dive in. First, what is functional harmony? Functional harmony is the concept that every chord within a key has a job as it relates to the tonal center. In less nerdy terms, it's how every chord sounds in relation to your one. And so there's two pieces to think about when it comes to functional harmony: the journey each chord takes you and the final destination. So let's start with the journey. To understand this, we need to know each chord's function, and there are only 3: tonic, dominant, and subdominant. And if you have trouble memorizing this, just think subdominant, tonic, dominant, or STD.
Oh my God.
Speaking of, if you care to share the love, give me a like and a subscribe to this channel so that way I can share free music theory with more people. First, the tonic. Tonic, like your actual tonic, is stable. These chords are your home. And the tonic chords are your 1, your 3, and your 6. You can go from one to the other, and they're not really gonna feel like they pull in any one direction. Let's give it a listen. If you remember high school chemistry, these are kind of like your noble gases. They don't really feel the need to react with anything else because they're already in a state of being stable. Next is your dominant function. Dominant chords are unstable and are marked by your 5 and your diminished 7 chords. These chords make you want to return home. They tend to highlight the return to the tonic, if that's where you end up going. So let's see what this sounds like. Much stronger return to the 1. And going back to our high school chemistry example, these are like your alkali metals and halogens, where they're so close to being complete that they just want to pull back and react with something to make them stable again. Finally is your subdominant function. These chords make you feel like you're leaving home. They tend to be highlighted when leaving a tonic chord, and they're made up of your 2 and your 4 chords. In fact, it's a common songwriting technique that whenever a verse is in a tonic chord, like a 1, a 3, or a 6, they'll move to either the 2 or the 4 in order to bring you into the chorus or the bridge. So let's see how this sounds. You tend to focus on the 4 and the 2 in that chord sequence. Now going back to high school chemistry, dude, I have no freaking clue. I went to art school. I'm teaching you music. Go ask a scientist. Anyway, that wraps up the journey portion of it. But eventually, you have to come home. And this is where cadences come in. Now, all cadences is the ending of a phrase with a certain type of resolution. And fortunately, when it comes to functional harmony, there's only 4 kinds of resolution you really need to remember. That said, as always, I encourage you to experiment with others. The first type of resolution is called an authentic or perfect cadence. The second is a plagal cadence. The third is a half or an imperfect cadence. And the fourth is a deceptive or an interrupted cadence. An authentic cadence is marked by going from a 5 to a 1. Here's what it sounds like. A plagal cadence is marked by going from a 4 to a 1. This tends to have a very churchy vibe to it. You'll see what I mean in a second. A half cadence is anything that goes to a 5 chord. Let's try this out. In that type of cadence, you notice because it doesn't resolve back to a tonic, it makes you want to keep going. Finally, a deceptive cadence is resolving to anything that's not a 1 or a 5. So now let's try it. Let's go over into Reaper to move through this example. So I'm going to stay in C major here, and I want to write a chord progression where I want to take the listener away from home, maybe have them wander aimlessly for a little bit. They return to stability for a short while, only to venture forth again until their story reaches a climax, and it gets rocky at the very end for a bit, but then they find their way back home. So first of all, I need a home, and we're going to keep it simple. We're just going to make that our 1. So we're gonna do a C major triad. And then I have to take them away. So I want to use something that's subdominant. I think I'm gonna use a minor 2 here. So pull that up, make this minor. Now I want some aimless wandering. So we're gonna turn this into a 4. And again, we want to use voice leading here. So I'm going to drop that bass down and make this a second inversion. And I want them to return to some sort of stability, but only for a little bit. So we're going to have this minor 3. And then I want to launch them forward all over again. But I kind of want this to go back up. So we're going to go back to a 4, but make it first inversion, or root position. And I want them to reach a climax. So maybe hit this like 3 to a 5, and we'll cut this in half. And, you know, actually, let's make this like a half cadence. So I'm doing 4 bars here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2. I kind of want this piece here to sit on the 5th bar, so it kind of measures up better. So we're just going to cut this in half, and maybe we'll get some like cool rhythm going. And maybe we'll shorten this just a little bit to lead in. So maybe it feels like it's going to go somewhere, but we're actually going to just keep this at a 5. I want to highlight some rockiness, so maybe do like this 2 and 7, go back and forth. Resolve back to a C. So basically what I have is I have 1 chord for home, 2 to take them away, 3, or like a 4 to kind of like, you know, give them some aimless wandering, if you will, so kind of floating in the subdominant space. Then I want them to return to stability, but not home, so I'm going to use another tonic chord, i.e. the 3. I'm going to launch them forward again using a 4 chord, and then I'm going to go a 3, 5 to give this like deceptive, or like this half cadence. You're like, this is still going to keep going. I know you want to resolve, but it's not. And then from here, I kind of make this rocky, you know, craziness by using this diminished chord and the 2, kind of going back and forth between these 2 very tense chords before doing a 5, 1 perfect resolution. So, and we'll end on a high note. So let's see how this sounds and see if we got close. Cool. I'm not a huge fan about the chord breakup here, but by and large, it kind of took us on this neat little journey. Let's see if we can spice this up a little bit now that we have a good foundation. All right, cool. So I spiced it up, just added a couple things. They're all the same chords, even though it looks different, but I actually switched around here. I dropped the top notes down so you can kind of have this really nice contour that makes the melody, instead of just going up all the time, it kind of brings you down and then pulls you up. In here, I added some 7th chords and just doubled up some of the bass notes to give it a better thickness. I added this little note in here to kind of give you a very similar to what we were talking about, passing tones in a weird way. Not quite, but kind of step you into this next series of the chords. And then I altered the beat pattern here to kind of make it a little bit more jarring. So overall, it's the same chord construction, but since I gave myself this framework to work in, I was able to go in there and tweak things in a more refined level. So now let's hear what this sounds like. Boom, that's it. So now it's your homework. I want you to use functional harmony and pick chord blocks out of any scale of your choosing, and then write a chord progression with those blocks. When you're done with that, I'll see you in the next lesson. And before you go, this video is part of a larger free music theory course that will take anybody from no music experience to being able to compose a full orchestral score for a video game. So there are free materials in the link below. Go ahead and click that link, and then you'll get access to a Google Drive folder to where you can follow along with this course and write your very own game orchestral score. So go ahead and do that, and I'll see you in the next lesson.